author and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. It's time to trust your intuition. This is your inner knowings. Through questions and points of conversation, I can help others feel empowered. With the ability to touch people's past lives, I help others connect and not feel alone. Sit with me and call in live, 888-994-4995. Hi everybody, my name is Sally and my show is Call Me Zena. I want to spend a few seconds or minutes right now to just mention a few things that are going on. I was sitting here thinking before the show came on about how devastating and how awful this hurricane is. I'm from Florida, the southern part of Florida. I'm on the east side, not the west. But the things that we see are unbelievable. It's so hard to understand why this happens. Just to give you a little bit about myself and my background, I can't tell you why. I just know that we have to have hope and we have to have faith. I'm sitting here in the Brooklyn Cafe where I started my show about 2.5 months ago. And the moment I come in here, I just want to explain this too. I don't know what I'm going to talk about because I get many people giving me questions, but just want to say that I get a sense of peace the moment I walk into here. The people that surround me, I can be in the most strangest mood with a whole lot of things going on. The moment I sit here, a calm comes over me. Now I'm talking about something right now that I definitely do want to bring up, which is obviously a negative. It's a horrible situation that happened, but I feel I'm able to do this because sitting here surrounded by, I call them my family, I can talk a little bit about this. We don't know why, we don't know how this happens. Unfortunately, it did, and there are many, many people that are absolutely devastated by this hurricane. We can feel for them, we can pray for them. It's just, I say, and I always will say this, we need to send love. We need to send love out. They are getting help. Will it be enough for the next few weeks? I don't know. Hopefully it will be. Unfortunately, as time goes by, we seem to forget what their suffering is. However, just so that I want to tell you, please don't forget, I was not caught in any hurricane or even a tornado, but it brought home to me the fact that it was so near. Life can change so quickly. We need to appreciate what we have. I know a lot of people say that, but when you hear this, it does, if there's any light in this, it brings home to us how things can change. Many things, just not the hurricane or tornadoes. We can be crossing a road and we can get knocked down. We can be in a car accident. Please, please, please try to appreciate every day. If you're suffering from depression, I know what that's like. I suffered from depression for many years as a child, but I'm going to say, have touched the other side of this. Do I still get depressed? Do I still get anxiety? Yes, but I have a way, because I've touched something more, to bring myself back here, to know that I'm very grateful to be here. I love what I'm doing right now, and I want to continue with this. It's to give hope to everybody. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to take me. I just know that I found my home here to be able to express this. Having said all this, let's get on with the show now. Is there any questions? Please give me, I think, Dawn, you said there was somebody that had a question for me, I believe.
Question is, do you do soul readings?
Yes, I do. I do soul readings, I do past life readings. I can, if someone has a question about what's going on in their life, I can't guarantee that I'm going to give you the answer or if the answer is correct, but I have had many, many people call me and thank me. I rely very much on my guides to give me these messages, the collective that are here right now.
I had a vision when we were doing a show today, and it was like when Superman came from Krypton, he flew down, there was a baby in a bubble. How would you interpret that message?
Well, is there anybody in your family that's, I mean, you may have crossed your mind. I'm feeling that someone in your family is going to have a baby. I don't know who, but I think it's a close relative of yours. It could even be a cousin, but I do believe there's someone in your family that's coming in and they're trying to let you know. I don't know when. It could be a month. No, not a month. You'd know if they were pregnant. It could be a year from now. It could be 9 months. It could be 2 years. But there is a baby coming in.
Interesting. That's interesting. And what do you think about the planet shifting as far as the hurricane and different storms?
Well, I mean, we touched on this a little bit, in my last show. I feel that the planet is alive. It's hard to understand this, and I have problems understanding it, but it's giving us messages, especially our planet right now. It's being, we don't respect it the way that we should. We don't respect ourselves the way that we should. It needs nurturing, it needs love. So the more we can do that, we need to change. We need to change our mindset. It's very difficult because we're in such, I call it the 3D world, which is very surrounded by negativity, with wars, with the weather the way that it is. It's not just a hurricane. We get tornadoes, we get earthquakes. It's our way, it's Earth's way of telling us to wake up. We can call that, we're in touch with God, whatever we want, a collective consciousness, but Earth has the same thing going on. Our planet has this going on, and it's getting bombarded with negativity. How are they going to tell us? They're telling us, right? Well, the Earth is telling us right now, help me, do something. I don't want to scare people. I want this to be a hope program of hope. But please wake up to the fact that we are doing destruction here. It's really important to understand this. I'm not saying that the world is coming to an end. I don't know. But if we carry on like this, it could be 1,000 years from now. I believe in coming back. We want to come back to this world. So let's try, everybody, to be more positive, to love one another. And even if 1 or 2 people go with what I'm saying, it still helps. It's a message that we can pass on and pass on and pass on. Eventually, hopefully, there'll be a wonderful outcome to this. I don't know.
Do you think the planet shifting is what's causing some of the change?
Yes, because what's happening too, and I often mention this too, we need to be on track. We need that balance. Just like anything, if you've got I'm a Libra, so the scales, if a scale goes too much one way, it's going to tip over. If it goes the other way, it's going to tip over. So we need to have balance here. It's easy to say, it's difficult to do, but try very hard. What tips the balance is negativity, and that negativity spreads from one person to another. So if we can just bring ourselves together, yes, there's always unfortunately, there's going to be wars, but if we can see past that, question ourselves, why are we doing this? What are we trying to prove? Because we live here, we shouldn't get along with someone who lives on the other side of the world that has a different point of view. Let's try to bring the whole point of view together. Talk about it. Let's see, without arguing, without fighting, without wars. Let's see if we can come to some decision somewhere. It's got to start somewhere. It's got to start somewhere. I'm just giving a message. I'm not going to be able to save this planet, but I can help this planet, which is different, very different.
Do you ever get messages from royalty, or as if the Queen, when she passed, did she send you messages of information to share?
Yes, I think exactly what I'm talking about now. But I think, yes, I do hear. I feel it's very strange. I'm from England. However, I always wanted to come to America, which I'd also mentioned too. I wasn't really, as a child growing up, tremendously patriotic towards England, but suddenly I changed, and many messages were coming from me, for me, which I do believe was royalty, actually from the past. So now what happened, I got very interested in royalty here. And when the Queen passed away, I actually cried. I had tears in my eyes. I don't think I would have done that 30 years ago, but I've changed. And it rang true to me that royalty, I used to say why they have all this and they have that, but there's reasons for that. And even just when you go to London, the pageantry and everything that's attached to that is wonderful. I've changed. I hear messages from royalty. The answer is yes.
And do you think it's because you're connected from your past life to perhaps the bloodlines?
Yes, it is. As I had mentioned before, and I'll mention him again, my guide that was here with me on Earth, who has passed over this last year, I was drawing, excuse me, for some reason my voice goes, I'm okay, I can have a little sip of this, excuse me. Okay, I'm okay. Okay, I was drawing. One of the very first things before I even knew that I could draw, I was sketching. It happened to be a castle, and it was quite a big piece of paper. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I drawing a castle? So much so, and I never erase anything that I'm drawing. This was a sketch. I'm drawing the lines on this castle and the roof. And I just, even if I went to bed and I stopped, I would get up in the middle of the night and carry on another line somewhere that led to something. And it happened to be a castle. So now I'm getting to think, why am I drawing palaces and castles? Maybe this is something that I'm attached to in a previous life. I've since found out a lot more, actually, about this. Yes, it was. It was from many centuries ago, though.
And they're showing questions about past lives. I think a lot of people seem to have those and what you come forward with. We had someone in the studio today, and she's definitely been blessed by the angels. If somebody has a brush with death and they even lose their life for a moment in time, do you feel there's a greater message or calling for them?
I do. I do. From what I've also read and what I feel, I think that, you know, we often hear people say, well, it wasn't my time. They told me it wasn't my time. So I believe that we come back with a message. I had a very similar experience. I went into hospital overnight. I came out a completely different person. I believe that I touched that because I started to astral project 3 times a week, if you know what that is. I was flying to different places, which were very, very real to me. And it brought me into understanding more. This is ridiculous. Can we just break for a commercial for a minute? Thank you.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came to the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest in art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she's able to astral project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life's direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you could always seek me out for resources. Visit artbysallybarnard.com today. Now, back to the show. Okay, here I am back. I had a little bit of a coughing thing. I don't know what it was. Maybe they were telling me I wasn't on the right subject, but I'm back. So let's hear some more questions.
So can you project when someone, I guess, is going to have a baby or find their love of their life? It seems to be one of the most popular questions.
It is. And up to a point, yes, I have told people and I have been accurate. I don't know where, I'm getting a lot of my information from my collective, but it's more, they tell me more about what's happening with the world, what's happening over here or there, to give my message of hope to people and to explain a little bit how I'm able to draw without ever having a lesson. However, that does lead to more personal things too. So I'm happy to answer questions on that too.
What about what's happening over in the Ukraine and Russia?
That's also very sad. This is the negativity that's coming out in the world, and it's expressing itself in many different places. Yes, there's always, if we go way back in time, there's always wars going on, but for some reason it is getting worse. I mean, it's more maybe because we have the internet and we can look and see on the news what's happening, but it's scary. Even yesterday on the television, there was something with North Korea going over Japan with a rocket. We need to stop. I'm not going to be able to change anything. I just want people to be aware that if they can just turn that negativity into a positive, maybe it'll reach the people, the powers that be, that what are we doing? We'll end up blowing this whole planet up. Again, I'm not here to scare anyone, and I'm going to say it could be 1,000 years from now. I don't know. But what is going up in the air is not really good.
Here they're looking at just people on a different path. They're showing us into the collective, into the energy.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Okay, so the picture that I'm seeing, oh, that's beautiful. We are energy. So if we can just begin to just understand a little bit of that, we get attracted to certain things through energy. Before I knew this, I would think many things were coincidence, but it's not. We're putting out. But just as we're putting out positivity, which goes into what we were talking about, we're putting out negativity too. So if we can just change our mindset, if we can just understand maybe we are more than what we think we are, that we're energy, we're attached to things, that we will start to begin to change. It's really difficult, and I understand this too. It took me a long time to really understand what I know now. But we're here, we're all together. We don't stay here, we go to different places and we transform into different things. When we pass, I believe that we never die. Energy is always around us. So let's begin to see that there's more here. Let's protect what we have here for the time that we're here, for our children, our grandchildren, so that they may be more aware when they come in. I believe that, for what I believe, is that we discuss before we come in where we're going to be and what family we're going to be with. And again, I don't expect everybody to believe that. It's my belief. So we up there, I say up there, around where we are, we don't want all that's going on here. We have children, we were discussing this earlier, that are coming in, the indigo children. They're coming in with a mindset that they're wanting to change this. More now than ever are they coming in. And again, I have mentioned this before, you can see that. They may not even be aware, but these little kids that are coming in, that are going on these shows, have tremendous, tremendous singing voices. Whatever they're doing, they're able to do it like they've done this before in another lifetime. Because how does a child of 3 or 4 train to be able to sing like an adult, unless it's in their memory somewhere? So they're trying, in some ways, to wake themselves up. The same as with my art. I wasn't a child, but how do I paint what I'm painting? How do I draw from previous lives? It's something I've never seen here. I don't know what I'm drawing. I can have a big canvas in front of me and I'm drawing, especially in the beginning. I was drawing from a lifetime when I quote. I was drawing castles. I was drawing signs and symbols from a lifetime, which was many centuries ago. I was not aware. I have never seen it. And yet I was lucky enough for myself, and I believe I chose it, that I had someone that understood what I was going through. And I understand that, I know now that he was my guide here. But he never led me into the conversation. I would ask him, what is this? And I'm drawing symbols from, actually it was royalty many years ago. I hadn't seen it. Now I have, because I've looked it up on the internet.
What's an indigo child?
An indigo child, and there's different names, for children over different, they come in with a knowing. They want to save the planet. So they're more, it's not easy to be an indigo. I believe that maybe I was, I don't know, because you're very sensitive. You're an empath. You know that something is going on. You may not have the remembrance, although I believe we come in wanting to remember, but it changes because we're surrounded by a lot of people and we start to talk and they say, nah, don't talk about that. It's very, very important to let your child talk to you. many children today are going back into past lives. They're remembering. I've heard many children say, you weren't my mummy, I remember my mummy from another lifetime, or vice versa, you were my mother in a last life. We would just listen. We need to listen to our children, whatever they're saying, especially when they're young, because I believe they have more memory. Unfortunately, as we get older here, so many other things take away from the memory we have at that point.
When I was younger, I went to a psychic fair, and they told me, and my mother wasn't with me, she was someplace else in the room. They said that I was left here, my mother borrowed me in this life. And I'm really from a star, and my parents were not of this realm, but I'm here on borrowed basis, pretty much. And so imagine telling a child that you're not really from this reality.
But
I
a
guess the
child
message is
may tell you that. A child may say, I don't remember here, I remember somewhere else, because they are remembering. I think, from what I believe and what I understand, we're actually, a lot of us are from somewhere else. A lot of people today have come in, souls, entities, to save the planet right now, because it needs saving. So I don't believe that the psychic that you spoke to was very far wrong, Dawn. I got to know you pretty well here now. This isn't coincidental. I believe that you were from somewhere else. I could give you the same message. I'm giving it to you, but you've also got to feel it, which if you don't feel it, you're not going to believe it. So I know that I was from somewhere else. I think I've been on this planet though quite a while. I've come back several times, but I know I was from another planet. I actually slightly have memories. I can't tell you I remember a lot. I mean, it just comes to me gradually. A lot of my messages come in dreams.
What kind of being were you in another planet?
Well, I wasn't unsimilar to here. It was just a different planet. I was, I mean, I can go into the whole story from what I do believe, and it would take a show to do that, and maybe we'll do a show on that in the future, because I feel very comfortable here with you, and I will talk about that. But I do have memories. In fact, some of my sketches that I was drawing in the very beginning, which I'll bring in here, were of rocket ships. What do I know in this lifetime about a rocket ship? And yet I'm doing in detail. I have a hangar where they're hanging and I'm doing the details of lines, and I'm looking and I'm going, what am I drawing? It was a rocket ship. And then I'm showing like a space station, and I'm saying this feels like it was Mars. However, I was coming out with this, and I had my guide here, Aldo. He's not here to tell, but he's talking to me right now, and he's saying to me, what do you remember from that? And I'm proceeding to tell him the story. I could have been making this up, absolutely. However, I'm drawing it. How am I making up a rocket ship that I'm seeing, that I'm drawing, if I wasn't there? I couldn't draw. So,
Feeling like you've been there. And the golden mirror picture that they're showing us.
yes, I love that.
When people look in the mirror, do you feel as if the reflection they see is truth, or do they need to look beyond what they are seeing?
Well, that was another thing that Aldo, I'm going to call him Aldo, I can't say my guide, Aldo Adamir in my book, would tell me to look into a mirror and to stare at that mirror. He said, if you feel that it's funny and you don't want to do it, don't. But very often the mirror will tell you more. And if you stare at it and keep staring at it and look at it, you actually can see your face change. So I don't know if that's the message from that, because I feel that it's more, but that just brought to light what I needed to tell people. Stare in a mirror, don't get scared, and you will see some of your past lives, what you looked like. I did it with him there, so I know that. It happened to me, and he would do it too, but I had someone there, if I got scared, to comfort me at that point. But it's interesting. It's funny that you put the mirror, well, it's not coincidental, you put the mirror back.
Interesting.
Hi, Sally.
Hi, Josh.
What's your advice to not think about the past or just stay present?
Well, just take note of what's going around, around you, and situations and circumstances, because we actually all need to be present, but there's a part of us that daydreams, let's say, that goes into the past and also goes into the future. It's not a good thing to do when you're driving a car. Let's say when you're driving a car, you're very present. So I would be aware of, You are present, you're here, we know we're here, but we also know that there's more going on. But there's times that we need to be absolutely in touch with what's going on here.
And do you think that will help with patience in a way?
It quietens your mind, actually. If you meditate, you're more into the, even though you say you may go somewhere with that, but you're at present, you're in where you're meant to be right now, and then it will lead you to somewhere else. So I believe very much in daydreaming, let's say. So I'm not against people doing that, obviously, but if you say you've got problems, the anxiety, you need to be present and see what's happening at that moment in your life, not what was happening or what's going to happen. That's a very good example, actually. Just be present in the moment of your surroundings, and you'll find sometimes completely what you were thinking about changes.
Yeah, sweet, thank you.
Interesting. And I believe there's more questions about space and how do we coexist with different planets. It sounds so esoteric, but if we're believing in energy, energy can shift anywhere.
Yes, it can. And I personally believe that we're not alone, but there are many, many different planets. And I have heard this, but I also feel that they tell me this, that we are being watched by many, many people from different planets. We're comparatively a new planet, Dawn. So although that could be thousands of years, we are still new in the existence in this universe. So the ones that have been around longer, and let's say they're on a slightly higher dimension because they've chosen to go to, we choose where we want to go. So if we're on another planet that's coming from a higher dimension, they're very concerned with what we're doing here. So that's why some of the kids coming in are actually coming in to save this planet, because you can't put nuclear. We're hearing nuclear so much today. We can't do that to our planet, and they know that, because what will happen, it'll go up into the universe, and it'll affect ultimately the people that are watching us now to say they don't want us to destruct our planet. There are forces that may want that, but the majority of planets do not want that. They're watching us. We're kind of like an experiment from what I understand and from what I hear. So they want it to work.
But so much of this sounds global. People are more individualized and they want to know what's the best job for them.
As far as when they come in, you mean, into the planet, into here?
Now as people are growing up and trying to pay their bills, they want to know, am I on the right track?
This is difficult because we're inundated with problems of making a living, of money. Money rules us, unfortunately. You know, and you find sometimes that some of the happiest people have very little. They live off the land. They're more in touch with their spirituality. Does that mean that if you've got money, you're not in touch with your spirituality? No. I used to feel very funny about that. I used to say, well, I got it. Well, I lost and I got. And I said, well, how can I be spiritual if I've got a nice house? That's ridiculous. We're here to enjoy our lives. The key is to train your mind to not listen to all this that's going on around us. And we're inundated. Am I going to pay the bill? And we're here. I need to pay the bills next month. What am I going to do? I'm not making enough money in my job. So we don't have time to sit and really contemplate what's going on.
I think maybe that's the reverse of what we should be doing. And can you help me and others to do that, to see what's more important, the presence of now, I guess, leading into Josh's question, how do we stay present and here we are versus I got to pay my mortgage or my rent tomorrow?
Well, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think if more people try, you know, the earth, the land gives us a something nice because we can plant things in there. We can plant things in the earth. We can get fruit. We can get many, many things. We can get more into living on the earth without all this worrying of everything. I used to think a long time ago, and I didn't really understand any of this, I used to think it would be really nice to live on a kibbutz. I didn't even know what they did on a kibbutz. However, I'm getting a message that they really do have the right idea. This is going back many years ago. And living on a kibbutz is very, you have your children, someone helps you, you bring them up, you live off the land. As far as I know, I have never lived on a kibbutz, but from what I know, That's beginning to do the right thing as far as getting away from all the problems that we have with money, the rent, because we're all pulling together. That's exactly, and I feel this very strongly now as we're talking about this, we all need to pull together. We all need to, even bartering. You have something that I want, I have something that you want. Let's barter. Let's start off somewhere. We've got to start off somewhere.
You think if we live more as community versus individual, we could raise the collective energy?
Absolutely, yes. But the problem is starting this, you know. If we can explain to more people, I'm not going to do it now because I'm in the latter part of my life, but I think I would have loved to be somewhere where people are doing just what we're talking about, a community of people. Someone takes one thing and they give it to you. We need money because of the way the world is right now. But if we could just get away and just start with this bartering and do things, we're just beginning to open up with what we really need to do. This all takes time. Of course it does. But as anything, we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere.
And people are writing in, they're fascinated by you having a guide. Do you feel that's given you, I want to say, unfair advantage or an advantage to becoming who you are spiritually?
Well, it opened me up to my spirituality, yes. If I had had my choice and known that he was coming in, I would have asked him to come in 20 years earlier because my life was not easy. However, he came in at the right time because he would have left me alone completely, but I opened up from the dream that I had and was told to paint, and I was drawing. So he knew that that was going to happen. Had that not have happened to me, I might never have met him. He came in when he was meant to be there.
Do colors help you balance?
Yes, they can, certain colors, because they can keep you calm. Some colors make you angry. So that's, again, we have to really decide what colors are calming to us. I don't believe there's any particular color. It's up to the individual. If I see, I mean, I have a lot of colors in my paintings and they make me relaxed. I don't know the colors I'm picking. I can tell you one thing though, when I started to astral project, the colors that I saw, and I've heard this with people that have come back after having a near-death experience, you cannot capture those colors. The colors are amazing, colors that you don't see. I try to in my art. And I mix. I didn't know you can't mix this with that. I just do it. And I get near it, but it's so much more vivid. We don't have it here. Maybe because I'm hearing them say it's because of the density. It could be that. We need to clear everything. We need to clear the air. We need to, I'm going to say start over. Not completely, but we need to change. We do need to change. And that's where my message of hope is coming through. Please, if I'm just helping 1 or 2 or 3 people that are listening, try to change your main mindset on this situation. I can't tell people to stop watching the news. I do it too, but watch it for a little bit so you just know what's going on. Then don't feed your mind with so much of this negativity. It doesn't help anything. It really doesn't. As I said before, we started with a hurricane. Of course you've got to listen. It's happening here. But just send positive vibrational energy to people that need it. Somehow, if they open up themselves, they are going to feel that. They will feel it.
Sally, in studio today, we had a young lady who I call it borrowed time now because she shouldn't be here. And she is here. And there comes a time when you're learning things spiritually. And then there comes a time when the page turns and you have to teach spiritually what you've learned. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, I believe that, I mean, it's hard because I know I only heard part of her story, but I know she suffered very much as a child. But you know what? By her being here now, and I'm very happy that she is, that she's able to say her experiences. I think a lot of us choose certain things to come in. I don't know her reasons. I'm not her, and I didn't have too much time to talk to her. But we sometimes choose that to come in, not just for ourselves, but maybe it was for her parents. I don't know. But thank goodness she, because she's here and hopefully now that she's healthy. But we sometimes choose that to give ourselves and the people around us an insight into what can happen, you know, to just even to feeling. A couple might be angry with each other all the time. They have a baby that may come in not well. It can have the reverse, but it can also bring them together to realize that you can't continue to do this. You need to stop arguing because you've got a child that's sick. So it goes on like that a lot.
So you would call it a balance between learning and then teaching?
Yes, it is a balance, which I've said many, many times. It's a balance. We choose that. There was a kid that I didn't understand as much as I'm learning now. I think his name was Matty. He was a little boy that came in. This parent had had many children with this disease. This one she managed to bring to birth, who lived till he was about 6 or 7. I don't remember the whole story, but he knew so much. He wrote poetry. Anybody that may call in, just give me the name. You may know who he is. But the poetry, he knew so much. He passed at 7 or 8 years old, but the good that he did here, talking about how we need to be together, how we should love, that child came in knowing, that child came in to help his parents, and not only his parents, other people.
It seemed like her mother, who went through a lot of trauma, a lot of, pain and everything else, watching her daughter, she calls her princess, fighting to survive this thing. It just seemed to me like the mother opens the door for her to come forward. And I said that to them when they were standing here. It looked like she was the one now that sets it up so that the child can explain pain and things of that nature. And there's hope. There's always hope that you hold on to. Now, a lot of people have died of these illnesses, and people get upset with God because they think that God has something to do with that. Can you elaborate how hope, when things are worse, hope is the one thing that stays constant?
It's the one thing we have to cling on, actually. I have mentioned that word a few times on the show so far. Yes, hope, because once you give up, you're giving up hope. So hope is very important. Hope is that she would survive to tell her story, which I'm happy to say has happened. As they were talking, and I only spoke to them for a little while, I kept feeling that her daughter, or her, it was vice versa, was her sidekick. The word sidekick kept coming into my mind. In fact, I even told them that because she brought it up. It came through so strongly. So there is a connection there. There was a connection with the two of them, that they're helping each other, actually. I don't know the situation or the story. I just know that the daughter wasn't well for a while. But from what I believe, is that the daughter came in and she understands a lot. For 20 years old, I believe, she's 20. I could have had the most wonderful conversation with what we're talking about, and she understood. So she came in understanding, and as far as I know, her mother does too. That's not coincidence, I don't believe.
And is it safe to say that when you enter a room, certain things happen? So can people say that if they call in, if they meet you, if they talk to you, good things seem to follow understanding?
Yes, I believe that too. They've got to be ready, but I believe, especially, and we're trying to get a lot of people down here, which I hope if there's local people in Boca Raton or nearby, please stop in by the cafe. Even if it's not my show, I'd be happy to come in, just give me a call.
It happens every day.
Yes, and it does, and it happens. So they're ready. You could bring somebody in. Even if you brought someone in, I'm going to say from outside that didn't even know, I believe they would still be in the right place. I believe that what's happening here is not coincidental. It's not. I walk in today and I meet some people with exactly the same mindset as me. I wasn't meant to come in at that time. I usually come in early. Today I said, no, I'll come in at the time just before my show. But something in my head kept saying, go there, go there. You know you can walk in. It's like a second home. In fact, I say to my GPS now, take me home, and it brings me here, because for some reason it's coming up on my GPS. So here I am.
It's amazing how I didn't even know that these two ladies were going to come to talk. Now, we've met them years before. We've interviewed the mother apparently a few times. I draw a blank. All I saw was what I saw. And when you came in, you so quickly, I asked you to sit. It's like the room lit up. So the bottom line here, unless you come and you witness what is going on, you're really not going to understand it. But I just want people to understand, hope brings things eternal. It gives you an opportunity to learn the reason you want to know why.
Exactly.
When you do the hope. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how people can meet you, where you'll meet them, things of that nature.
Well, actually, this is perfect. Again, if you are local, I don't expect you to fly in, say, from Detroit or stuff. Well, you're more than welcome to, but come to the Brooklyn Cafe. This is where I am. My show is on a Monday, but I can come in anytime. I'd be happy to bring people here and we can talk more, because I believe that the people that will show up are the right people that are meant to be here right now. Okay, we can go to a commercial. I'm going to break for a few minutes with a commercial. Hope to see you in a few minutes. Thank you.
Bright, bold, beautiful. Audrey Omar creates artwork pieces that make a statement in any room. Using ethically sourced material, these handmade artworks are made in collaboration with divine higher power. This unique method gives vision, passion, and energy to every piece. Find Audrey Omar's work at the Brooklyn Cafe Studios or audreynow.com. Audrey Omar, art that opens the heart.
This world, this life, this illusion. What is going on, we ask? What is happening? Why not take time and see what is happening? This world as we know it, it seems so real and yet so far away from where we've come. Corruption, greed, anger, power, revenge. Please wake up. We can change what is around us. How, we may ask? Learn to go back to where we were. Then we will have the clues. Then we can change and go forward. Please take the time. Do not fall into the game which we have put upon ourselves. We can change. We can make a difference. We have the power, each and every one of us. Go in peace. Go with love. Go as one. Zena. You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you could always seek me out for resources. Visit artbysallybarnard.com today. Now, back to the show. Hello, we're back. Okay, I'm ready for questions.
Do you believe that people meet one another for balance? In other words, sometimes you meet somebody, they give you better balance. That will make a relationship last longer and healthier? Doesn't have to always agree with one another.
Well, I believe that we meet people for different reasons. Sometimes we need to learn something, or they need to learn something. The ideal relationship, as far as I can see, and I'm getting married again, so I think I'm in the right, I know I'm in the right relationship actually, is to balance each other out. I did not understand that before. So if I've got something that he can share with me or vice versa, and we can find that balance, let's take an argument. I don't like to argue, and I'm sure that we probably may have arguments, but if we can talk it out without getting emotional, that's bringing in balance. So that's important too. I'm very happy and delighted that I've finally met someone in my life that is understanding this with me too. It would have been hard to be with someone that didn't.
They're in there going, "Aw." So you firmly believe that you can find love at any age?
Oh, yes. I mean, I'm not going to give my age, but I'm certainly in the latter part of my life. I never, ever expected to find love at this age. No, it doesn't matter. Age is just a number. It's meeting that right person. I got married originally and I was only 18 years old. I won't go into all the things that happened in the marriage because it's not important today. But how do you know even at 19 or 18? It's a feeling. My marriage didn't last, but I have found something where I believe that we can have that balance. I say believe because that's what I want, and I feel that we found it.
What do you believe? Because tonight begins the Jewish New Year. I know we're playing this on Monday. As far as New Year, religion versus spirituality, when people take that one day, whether it's Christmas or Yom Kippur or Easter, to repent and say, now absolve me of everything for the year, or is it more of a continuous act we should practice?
It's a continuous act, yes, absolutely. But it does, I mean, I'm spiritual, I am Jewish, and I know it's Yom Kippur. It gives you time to reflect. Anything that gives you time to reflect on your life or the things that you have done. Let's just take 1 year because it goes from year to year. If you can do that, you're starting something. Because I'm beginning to write a second book. My first book is out there, but I'm going to put much more detail. Even just going back into my life and some of the mistakes, of course I made mistakes. It's all coming back to me. I can see where my mistakes are. I don't want to do those same things again. So anything that makes you reflect on your life, be it religion, spirituality, it's not a bad thing, because we have a chance to change. Also the good things. You know, I believe if something makes you happy and you talk about it, you feel happy. Vice versa too.
How do you silence the noise and sit and reflect?
I'm going to say meditate. Again, I have mentioned that I'm really not that great at meditating. It seems to come to me. When I say that, I was obviously meditating with my art, because somebody is helping me do this. It's not me. I couldn't paint. So meditation is clearing your mind of everything that's going on. However, and Aldo used to tell me this, and I astral project, so I go to different places. And one of my questions were, what happens if something happens in the house and I'm out flying somewhere? He said, there's always a part of you that's still here. So even when you meditate, you're somewhere else, as I was when I was flying, quote, flying, I was still aware of my surroundings, although I wasn't sure that I was aware of it. We are protected. We're protected. We protect ourselves too. I mean, if the house suddenly burnt down, I would know and wake up.
And just staying conscious to where you are.
You are. Actually, we're in, again, this is another show, but from what I understand and from what my guide told me and what I hear, we're in, this is impossible really when you're starting out to understand this, but we are in many different places. We're not just here. We don't remember. It's just like we don't remember our past lives until we're ready. If I suddenly said I'm somewhere else and I'm a different person, I would go a little crazy if I hadn't gone as far as I am now with this, because unfortunately a lot of schizophrenic people are feeling that. I have my views on schizophrenia too. Of course it exists, and of course we need pills, but not everybody needs the pills. But I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to say any more about that.
Do you ever think if maybe a child is diagnosed with autism, that maybe we call it autism here, but they're somewhere else on a different plane, the way their brain and they process?
Absolutely. I feel that. I don't often talk about that, but I do feel that, because if you take a savant, look how brilliant they are with numbers, but they can't communicate. So they, as far as from what I feel, and I'm being told this too, they are somewhere else. And how do they have all these numbers in their head? How do they remember from years dates? But they can't communicate properly. It doesn't mean that they're different for here, but they're not different, if that makes sense.
And a soul contract, what does that mean?
A soul contract is like, it's basically what it says. It's a contract. We have soul contracts. We come in and we have a contract with people. We don't remember, but as we unfold in that contract, we are actually experience part of that contract that we had. We just don't remember it. When you begin to, you'll see that everybody that comes into your life, even if it's just for a minute, we've heard this, has a purpose to be in that life. If it's just a word that if you pick up a book even, it's just something there. Take note of what's around you. I wrote a lot of prose about that many years ago before I understood. I was just writing and writing, and it actually says that. Take note of what's going on around you.
And there's messages all around us?
All around us, Dawn, everywhere. We just don't take the time. People say take the time to smell the roses. Take the time to listen to the messages if you can.
So it's back to being present and having hope.
Yes, hope and present. That's very, very important, because you're not going to understand this if your mind is all over the place, if you're just constantly worrying about the money. I understand that. I had that problem too. But it's not going to help you in the end. I used to walk around, I guess I was being guided. Smile, Sally. You don't know where tomorrow's meal's coming from, but smile. So I did. Here I am.
Sally, what about accountability? People's accountability towards what happens to them. Not blaming the alignment of the stars, but accountability.
That's taking charge of your own situation. Yes, absolutely you need accountability, because a lot of what happens are learning experiences. So if you want to continually blame somebody else or the weather or whatever it is for your problems, you're not taking accountability. Accountability is very important.
How does it match up with your spirituality? In other words, If somebody comes up to you and says, you know, am I going to be okay from this illness? Am I going to be okay even though I party all night and then I go home and I sleep for 15 minutes and then I go back to work and then I party some more? I mean, accountability sometimes is practical, but sometimes it isn't. How important is to have accountability of yourself for it to work spiritually?
Well, it is important, because if you don't sleep when you're out partying all night, and if people want to do that, that's okay. But how are you going to function, let alone understand this the next day? We need sleep. There's certain things, there's like a law of the universe, and one is actually sleep. We have to sleep certain times. We don't want to get too caught up in that, but there are laws. And you eat healthy. You don't have to, because I believe that you can also turn your food into, if you believe this, into a nourishment, and it may not be. I'm not saying necessarily drinking or overeating or drugs. I'm not here to preach any of that. However, it does interfere with our own balance when we do that. Everything in moderation, I believe, is okay. Most things, anyway. I can't say everything. But as long as it's in moderation, you know, we don't go overboard with anything. That's us humans. We need to do that.
How do we project to have a better relationship? Let's talk about relationships. Are there accidental relationships? Is looking in the wrong places never going to bear fruit? I mean, how, in this present situation, how do we have people looking for other people to have relationships, which is a normal desire?
Well, what's happened, I mean, I wasn't looking for anybody, and someone came into my life, and it was actually through me posting on Facebook that I don't express my views completely on Facebook, and I'm a little private, but I said I had a family emergency, which, if people know, unfortunately it was my daughter. But I had known my fiance 20 years ago, or 22 years ago. He read that. I don't believe that was accidental. He unfortunately had lost a son, and he and my daughter was passing, and he called me to ask me what the family emergency was. Had I have not posted that at all, which I was in two minds not to, but I have a lot of followers and they might have wondered where I am, even if it was a little message. So I did, and he happened to see it, and he happened to call me. So I believe well, we both believe that it was Aldo putting us together. But we need to follow through with certain things. I knew I had to post something. I didn't know why, but I wanted to tell people I'd be off Facebook for a little while.
When you meet somebody, how do you know that the somebody is somebody you want for the rest of your life? I mean, nowadays people kill a relationship before it starts.
Well, yes, and we don't know, because we don't always listen to, we will get signs. I truly believe that. But we don't always follow what we hear. You might see someone that comes into your life, let's say, is extremely good looking, and vice versa for the girl or the man. And that's all we see. We don't see beyond that. So can it work? Of course it can work. But we need to take note of little things that might be annoying to us, that might be not even annoying, that might not be our path and where we're going. I knew that I had to, I didn't expect to be getting married, but I knew that I had to have somebody in my life, if I was going to have another relationship, that understood where I was coming from, because they could have been the nicest person in the world, but if they didn't understand me, it would never have worked. Because I have balance and I enjoy life, but I also have to do this. This is who I am.
What happens if they don't understand you, but you still want to have this relationship? How do you overcome that difference?
Well, you can, but we're out of balance here. That's what I'm hearing, because yes, I could have carried on, and I'm using Steve as an example because he always said the timing wasn't right. I met him when he was not ready for this whatsoever. When he first met me, he still wasn't. But he's had so much validation that we've blended together with this. And he's as big a believer as I am, and he expects things to happen all the time to him, as I do too, as validation. Had that not have happened, and I can't talk hypothetically because we are together, but in somebody else's relationship, if that does not blend, think about it. Because what's really important to you, you can't make that other person see that importance unless they want to. And vice versa. If he had I don't like football. I have no desire to watch it. However, I can get up and do something else. He happens to like sports. I'm not really into it. Is that going to create a problem? No, because I can get up and do something else. And it's only, I guess, part of the year.
Can people change?
You can't change anyone, and I know that people hear that, but it's true. You can maybe make someone, well, you can't make anybody do anything, but you can put a point of view across to them. It's still up to them to take it in and to understand it. You can't change anyone. We can change ourselves. You can change by example somebody. If you follow someone and they're listening to you by my example of following through what I'm talking about, they might say, that sounds very interesting. Maybe I'll try that. You can't make someone do it. It has to come from them.
It seems that women love to try to change men more than not. And I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm just saying it because I've seen it. And then at the end of the rainbow, when it doesn't happen, it becomes pretty ugly. So I guess shouldn't we sort of try to adapt and change each other to adapt to a common cause?
Well, what's coming through very, very strongly for me, Freddie, is communication. Communication is so important. If you can express your point of view, and they can too. And if there's a difference, I'm not saying that everybody has to be completely compatible. No, we're not. We're all individuals. However, if you can, like I'm accepting the football or the baseball or whatever it is, I can freely admit I have no interest in it whatsoever. But I'm not necessarily going to tell him, I don't watch it, so you don't watch it. Of course I'm not going to do that. But I can do what I want. We're individuals. You have to go one way, the other person goes the other way, but ultimately you are together. But not 24 hours a day works for some people. Of course it does. I can't tell people spend a little time or a lot. That's an individual thought of how you're processing your relationship. For me, I've been on my own a long time, and I want to do what I want to do, just like you can't control anybody. I guess the word is communication and control.
But what about the delivery? Sometimes there's sarcasm. Sometimes there's fake acceptance. Sometimes it's a hollow bell just to stop the conversation, communication, and they will agree to it, but they aren't really into it, and then you pay the price later on.
Unfortunately, that happens a lot. And that's why there's so many people separated and divorced.
So should it be honesty first?
Honesty is very important. Honesty is, even though you may even hurt that other person, and it's taken me a long time to really understand that, because I would do things that I necessarily didn't particularly want to do because I didn't want to hurt that other person. But to express your feelings and tell them how you're feeling, even if it hurts that person at that time, at least you've cleared the air. And vice versa. I hope someone would tell me they don't like what I'm doing. I don't have to accept it, but I'm aware of it now if they tell me that.
Does compromise exist?
Compromise does exist. Yes, it does. But you've got to be ready and open for that compromise. If someone is very strong and the other, well, I'm not going to say strong or weak, but if there's a clash in personalities, sometimes that works too. Again, you can't change anybody. You can change yourself, and you can change or help people understand by example. That's exactly how I feel about it.
It can be complicated.
It's very complicated. Unfortunately, look at the statistics. I don't know, exactly what they are, but they're high.
But that's where relationships take work, because there's all these different pieces that you have to work, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely. I mean, especially, and I can talk this from my own experience. I got married very young. How does someone, I was engaged at 17 or 18. How do I know who I am, let alone somebody else wanting to be with me at 17? You're growing up together. He was a little older than me, but we completely were very different people. But you don't understand that at a very young age.
If you have a husband and wife together, the wife seeks truth from you, wisdom, journey, guidance. Husband is upset with the fact that he's taking their communication, for lack of a better word, outside of the marriage, going to you. How do you handle that?
They're taking outside.
By talking to you, he feels he's taking it outside of them too, of the two of them.
By talking to another individual about the problem.
Correct.
Okay, that can help, actually. I mean, people believe in group therapy, which I
But
think
he doesn't.
they got a problem. It's hard. It's very difficult.
Does accountability play into that?
Accountability plays completely into that. Yes, absolutely. If you're not accountable for what's happening, or you don't discuss it in any way, how is it going to change? You need to express it. You need to bring it out so that that person can hear what you have to say, and the other person will listen, and vice versa. If you don't communicate, it's not a good, in my mind, I believe you should. Totally believe that you should.
Tell us a little bit about what you do, Sally, for new listeners that are tuning in today. What is it that Sally does?
Well, I'm now doing the show here, which I love, which is on every Monday at 3 o'clock, so please call in. I'm able to answer your questions. I have no idea who's calling in or what their questions are. I personally don't think that I know a lot of what I'm saying. I'm getting guided, and then I see what I'm saying, and it seems to, I have a collective around me. I have people from, I'm going to say, the other side of the veil talking to me. I have to, for what I've been doing this for many years, but I was just doing it not on like I am now. I was doing it individually with people. One person in particular, I would talk and I'd say, how in the world did I know what was happening a couple of 100 years ago, or what's going on with the world? I'm not talking about what we're discussing now, but more things that I would have no idea, and yet I was able to express it. I hear things. I don't always see. Although they guide me into my drawings, I never was able to paint, but I am today. I've written prose. So for me, the validation is definitely coming from somewhere else. I believe that we have a higher self. So my part of me is in communication with the people that are talking to me, so to speak, the souls. So I'm able to answer questions. I'm able to see the future sometimes. I'm able to understand a lot of what's going on. I'm able to give people personal advice or who they're going to meet. I became very psychic when this happened. I actually have given people many messages where I've given the first and last name of a deceased. To me, that's validation for me too, because I needed that in the beginning too. I'm thinking, how in the world can I do this? But when I do that, they say, how did you know even the last name? I don't know. I'm being spoken to about it.
Do you see guides around me or Freddie?
I feel. I don't necessarily see. I feel their energy. Some people can explain. I can. If someone who's passed on has transitioned and they're giving me a message, I can say to that person, that lady has dark curly hair, as she was in this life, and it will be correct. And actually, I see someone with dark curly hair around you. I think that's why I mentioned that. But I see, but I more or less hear. I can take on the characteristics of that person. I've done that with people, and they'll say that certain people who have passed on, the way that I was standing or the way that my mannerisms are. So I'm obviously taking on their mannerisms. I've had many people tell me that. In fact, I can give you a story about that. A friend of mine, actually it was her boyfriend's mother who had passed, and she was leaving her son, my girlfriend. And I got the lady's name. I won't mention anything because it's going out on the air. And I go into her boyfriend's house where she was living, and she said, I have a picture of the lady that you brought through, which is his mother. So I said, okay. She actually had said, it's a good thing you're leaving him to her. I got this message, but we can't, know it for sure. Okay, so what happened? She brings a picture of the mother out, which was in their room. And I'm standing exactly like the lady was standing when I gave her that message. So that was validation too. I think we're coming to the end of the show. My message is, please have hope. I'm going to bring back what's going on with the world today. Please, it's so hard it's easy to become negative. It's hard to be positive. But if you can just send hope out, vibrations, positive energy, it will help somewhere, someone. Thank you. Coincidence or not, it's time to trust your intuition and knowings. Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book, artwork, and contact through artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week. This has been Call Me Zena.